Welcome to our latest video sermon update. On Sunday, we continued our Transform series by looking at transformed relationships. That as believers, we're called to love as Jesus loved. So in this short video, we're going to recap some of the main points from that message. In John 13, Jesus, on his last night with his disciples, leaves them with a new commandment. And the new commandment is this: a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another. Jesus issues a new command, a new instruction to his disciples as he prepares to leave them about what life will be like after he's gone. And in doing this, Jesus isn't giving them an optional extra. This isn't something to buy into. This isn't something they've got a choice about. That he is telling them about a new pattern of life, a new way of life that is going to be theirs through his death and his resurrection, which he will say earlier in the chapter that it's about to happen. He will be with them for a short time longer, and then he will be gone. And so he's given this new instruction. New instruction to the disciples is to love one another. That may not sound new because Leviticus already instructs us to, and Deuteronomy already instructs us to love our neighbor. Elsewhere we're told to love our enemy. But Jesus is giving them a new instruction on the basis of what's about to happen. That because of the new life that they are going to have, because of his death and his resurrection, because his Spirit is going to come and live within us, because we're going to be made alive in Christ, because we're going to enter into a new covenant, he's giving this new command, and it's this: that we would love one another. And that love is more than a feeling. We use that term quite easily today, that we love coffee, we love holidays, we love our new clothes, we love a particular special place. But we also love our wife or our husband, and we don't put those in the same category. And Jesus, in saying love one another, it's not just saying have positive feelings about one another, like one another. The definition of love is to be committed to one another and to one another's betterment. It's to put one another ahead of ourselves, to put another person's interest ahead of ourselves. And these disciples, they didn't all get along, they didn't all see eye to eye, it wasn't always easy. They're different personalities, different ways of thinking, different ages, and there would have been some tension, there would have been some grit in the relationship, but love is what we do in overcoming that, and love is what flows out of that we choose to put the betterment of another person ahead of ourselves. And we do that whether we feel like it or not, because we honor, because we care, because we want God's best for them. We're also commanded to love because we have been loved. God is love because God is in Trinity. Trinity isn't this abstract concept that's nothing to do with our everyday reality of life. Trinity is intrinsic to the Christian life and the Christian faith. That God is in a Trinity of the Father loving the Son and the Spirit, and the Son loving the Father and the Spirit loving the Father and the Son. And out of that Trinitarian love, we have been loved and we receive love. And so we, in this new covenant relationship with Jesus, we're called to, as we've received that love, to share that love with others in the community. And the one another is this new community that Jesus has formed. And we're called to love just as Jesus loved, just as I have loved you. Jesus, in washing his disciples' feet, he put their interests ahead of his own. He laid down his reputation. He put his disciples first. He got his hands dirty in order to bless them. And it is an example and a precursor of what's about to happen on the cross. But for us to love as Jesus loved, it's to put others ahead of ourselves. It's to get our hands dirty practically in helping them. It's to lay down our reputation and what others think in order to put others first. And then Jesus reiterates this command: you also are to love one another. He emphasizes it again, and the emphasis is important. It's making the mark of the main thing that he's trying to say. And it comes back to this, that we got to love one another. And there's a call on us as the church to love one another. We are called to love our enemy. We are called to love our neighbour. But we're called to love one another. And the church is the greenhouse where we learn how to love well so that we can love our neighbour and we can love our enemy. Because if we can't love our other brothers and sisters, how can we love those out in the world? And so the church in some ways is a greenhouse where we learn how to love well in the good and the bad, in the joy and the sorrow, in the easy relationships and in the difficult ones. Love doesn't walk out when things get tough. Love walks in. Love walks in and wants to put their interests ahead of our own. Love walks in and wants to see things from their perspective. Love walks in and wants to do things for their betterment. And the reason Jesus says that we need to do that is because the world will know we're his disciples by the way that we love one another. And so the love is what we receive from God, but it's also how the world will see a physical demonstration of God's love for them. Paul, when he writes to the Ephesians, he gives in chapter 4, he talks a lot about unity. He talks about Christ giving gifts to the church and the fivefold ministry. He talks about how that's expressed and the whole purpose of that unity and those gifts. He ends in verse 16 of that section by saying, so that this all makes the body grow so that it builds itself up in love. The goal of the gifts, the goal of the ministry, the goal of understanding the unity is that the church would build itself up in love. We're called to love each other well. We're called to love as Jesus loved. You can catch up on the full message on our podcast, on our website, or you can download it in your podcast catcher, whichever app you use.